The triple suns of Drexus. 9 hung low in the sky, bleeding orange across the horizon as the jungle exhaled its twilight breath, moist, hot, and humming with alien life. A shimmering haze hovered over the spiny foliage and twisted tree trunks, giving the landscape a feverish quality. The Galactic assassins stood atop a jagged ridge, their armor glinting like polished obsidian, confident, cruel, and amused. "Primitive," sneered Vorkul, his mandibles clicking with derision as he swept his infrared scanner across the terrain. "Human camouflage, this is their best?" Moss and mud. A chorus of hisses and laughs followed. Zidal, a feathered slicer from the Harkeen worlds, crouched beside a footprint pressed into the soft earth. They still think dirt makes them invisible, like children playing war. He stood and waved the others. He's moving south, slowly, probably dragging a busted leg. Shall we make it sporting? Sporting, chuckled Jorwin, the thick-shell brute from the Deneb Corps. We've already killed 5 of them. This one's just a runt that ran. The group moved as a unit, casual yet precise, their confidence unshakable. Each assassin was an apex predator in their own right, trained and enhanced across galaxies to neutralize any species. They didn't just kill, they humiliated. And they enjoyed it. They had come to Drexus, 9 on contract from the Cordari Combine, a coalition of species increasingly alarmed by humanity's unpredictable skirmishes along the galactic frontier. A forward recon team of humans had landed here weeks ago. 7 in total. Now, only 1 remained. Vorkul activated his visor's linguistic suite. "I almost feel sorry for him," he said in low galactic standard. "They send animals into the jungle and expect gods to bleed. Maybe he's watching us now," Zidal teased, spreading his arms wide and spinning. "Let him see what perfection looks like." The others laughed. Jorwin mimed rubbing mud over his shiny chest plate, earning another round of mocking snorts. "Look at me, I'm invisible. Fear the mighty humans and their dirt magic." They didn't realize it yet, but the forest had gone still. No clicks, no distant screeches. Even the buzzleflies, usually deafening at dusk, had disappeared. Vorkul tilted his head, antennae twitching. Silence. Jorwin paused mid-joke. "Huh." Vorkul scanned the canopy, narrowing his eyes. "Something's wrong." Zidal snorted. "Now you're buying into their ghost stories? There's nothing here but mud and a desperate monkey." But Vorkul's instincts flared. They always had. That's why he led this team, why his name commanded respect in every mercenary bar from Tarsus Prime to the Black Moons of Elketh. He raised a clenched fist. The team dropped into formation instantly, laughter extinguished. Thermals, scanners, full spectrum, sweep now. Each assassin flicked their risking souls into high alert, visors humming as spectrographs painted the terrain in layered colors. The jungle unfolded like an anatomical diagram, but showed nothing. No heartbeats, no trails, no heat spikes. Just trees and shadows. "Still nothing," muttered Jorwin, unease creeping into his voice. "He's here," Vorkul said. "How do you know?" Zidal asked, suddenly still. "Because this is the first time we're being hunted." For a moment, they said nothing. The wind rustled something high above, but no one moved. Then, a static crackle on their shared comms. Brief. A whisper. "Watching." "What was that?" Jorwin snapped, spinning toward the sound. "Comm interference?" Zidal suggested, though his tone betrayed uncertainty. Vorkul's fingers tightened around his pulse rifle. "No, it was him." Jorwin grunted. "Let him whisper. I'll find a little." A sharp crack tore through the air. It was not the high-pitched whine of plasma fire, nor the mechanical cough of railgun discharge. This was ancient, primal, a supersonic snap that came after the damage had already been done. Jorwin staggered backward, a clean hole between his ocular plates. He fell without sound, his massive form collapsing like a felled tree, dead before his body hit the dirt. Blood steamed on his armor. Zidal screamed, leaping for cover, claws extended, eyes wide with panic. "Sniper, get to cover." "Where?" Vorkul barked, dropping behind a fungus-covered boulder. "Direction? I didn't see it. I didn't see a thing. Another shot echoed, but this one hit nothing. A warning? A misfire? No, a message. Vorkul cursed and switched his visor to strobe filter, scanning for optical distortion, gravitational flux, even old-school trajectory paths. Still nothing. How was he hiding? Zital's voice trembled. How? Vorkul didn't answer. He was already thinking 4 moves ahead. This wasn't just a human. This was a sniper, a professional. Someone trained to stalk the best the galaxy had to offer and kill them without ever being seen. He remembered a dossier from years ago, a whisper in a classified report. Night Sniper, code name used for a breed of human ghosts trained to fight in pure darkness, using tech the galaxy considered obsolete and minds sharper than any algorithm. 1 shot, 1 ghost. Vorkul had laughed at the myth. But myths don't leave corpses. Fall back to the trees, Vorkul commanded. Form a triangulated scan grid. We flush him out or we die here. Zital bolted for a gnarled root cluster, wings twitching nervously. Vorkul waited 3 seconds, eyes scanning for movement, sound, anything. Then he moved. Behind them, a faint voice crackled again across the comms. This time, clearer. 1 down. Zital spun, firing blindly into the trees. His plasma bolt sizzled against bark and vines, but nothing screamed. Nothing bled. Vorkul's blood ran cold. This wasn't a broken, frightened animal clinging to life. This was a predator, and he was laughing at them now. The jungle held its breath. Sergeant Reyes lay prone beneath the tangled roots of a firevine tree, his heartbeat steady, his breath controlled, his finger resting lightly on the trigger of an ancient bolt-action rifle retrofitted with kinetic dampeners and a subharmonic silencer. It was not sleek. It was not glowing. It was not designed by a council of alien engineers. It was designed by necessity. His camouflage wasn't high-tech, either. It was a patchwork of matte black paint, mud, local pollen dust, and pieces of Drexus 9's own foliage. Where the assassins relied on algorithmic invisibility, Reyes relied on stillness. Where they used multispectral cloaks, he used shadows. And where they trusted sensors, he trusted instinct. Through the scope, he watched Zital scramble into cover, wings twitching like a nervous bird. Reyes exhaled slowly, calculating the wind drift, range, and movement all in one breath. Not yet. Not him. Not now. He shifted his aim, slower than the blink of an eye. There, 30 meters off, a shimmer in the foliage. Optical camo, barely perceptible. Another assassin, one who hadn't spoken yet. Quiet, careful, smart. Rays like the smart ones. They usually died second. The crosshair met the center of the shimmer, a trick of light betraying the assassin's position. Rays squeezed the trigger, and the rifle kicked silently. The bullet pierced the shimmer, and for half a second, nothing moved. Then, the distortion crumpled like a dying star. A thud, a sharp, wet exhale. Dead. 2. Rays rolled to his left, vanishing deeper into the forest. He didn't wait to confirm the kill. He didn't need to. 17 years in Black Ops Ghost training had honed his senses beyond reliance on equipment. In the Human Defense Corps, they called his class Night Snipers. But that term didn't do justice to the decades of terror they inflicted on enemy species. He was the last of his team. The other 6 had been picked off by those monsters in the opening days of his botched recon operations, had watched through his scope as his squad fell one by one, learning the assassins' patterns, cataloging their arrogance. He'd moved away from the initial zone, drawing them toward him, letting them think they were the hunters. Now they were bleeding, confused, spooked. He crouched beneath a low, moss-draped arch of stone, checking his ammo. 3 rounds left. He could work with that. He always did. The rest of his arsenal consisted of a ceramic blade, a thermal masking poncho, and his old dog tags, scratched, blackened, worn thin like ancient metal coins. "Come on," he whispered to himself, eyes narrowing. "Split up. One of you always splits." The comms in his ear still pulsed with occasional static. The assassins were trying to block him out, resecure their channel. He'd piggybacked a signal through the corpse of the first one he killed, hijacking their frequency with tech barely recognized by modern scanners. It wasn't elegant, But it worked. He heard Vorkal again. Maintain formation. Scan every quadrant. Do not break contact. The edge of panic. There it was. Rays could smell it. The way prey always gave off a faint ripple of fear just before they ran. He closed his eyes and visualized the likely movements. Vorkal would move south. Zidal would flank east, too erratic to stay still. The third, if there was a third left, would try to outthink him. Ray smiled. He moved like wind through a clearing, never leaving a footprint, never brushing a leaf. He stopped behind a fallen log and listened. A soft scrape. Zidal! Ray pressed his cheek to the dirt and peered over the log. The assassin fluttered nervously from one tree to another, talons twitching, posture rigid. Every few seconds, he fired a burst into the darkness, shouting curses in his native tongue. He was unraveling. This time, Ray didn't use a rifle. He didn't need to. He slid forward, 1 inch at a time, until he was within 10 meters. Close enough to smell the ozone of the alien's weapon, close enough to hear the huffing of his breath. He unsheathed the ceramic blade and waited for the right moment. Zidal turned. Too slow. Ray surged upward, silent as a myth, and drove the blade up beneath the assassin's jaw. A muffled shriek, a spasm, then stillness. He lowered the twitching body to the ground like a parent putting a child to sleep. 3. The forest was quiet again. He pulled back, melting into the dark, leaving the corpse to be found, or not. It didn't matter. Every death now was psychological warfare. He didn't just want to kill them. He wanted to make them doubt, to make them question every step, every sound, every shadow. This wasn't vengeance. It wasn't even war. It was theater. He circled the ridge, keeping low, keeping patient. He needed eyes on Vorkal. The leader wouldn't panic. Not outwardly, but there would be cracks. Rays just had to find one and widen it. The comms flared again. Vorkal's voice, low, guttural, angry. Identify status. Report immediately. Silence. Then a pulse of motion from the north. Vorkal had activated his visor's tactical beacon, a desperate measure. It illuminated him briefly as he scanned the area, searching for any trace of his squad. Rays spotted him through the scope. 50 meters. Moving slow, weapon ready, scanning high. Wrong direction. He exhaled, letting the pressure ease from his limbs. The crosshair lined up again. Another breath, but he didn't fire. Not yet. Vorkal turned toward the trees, muttering something to himself in his native tongue. Rays couldn't translate it, but he didn't need to. He heard fear in it. He switched off the rifle scope and sat in the darkness, legs crossed, heartbeat calm. I see you, he said softly into the open comm channel. Vorkal froze. Silence followed, then a whisper back. Who are you? Ray stared into the dark jungle, eyes unblinking. Just the last mistake you'll ever make. He clicked the channel off and began circling again, silent and invisible. The hunt wasn't over, but it had turned. The rain began in soft, needling threads, cool against the oppressive heat of Drexus 9. It slicked the bark, darkened the leaves, and painted the dead with shine that made their still forms look freshly killed. To Rays, it was a gift from the planet itself. The rain would mask his scent, his sound, his heat signature, and it would make Vorkal desperate. The last assassin was no fool. Rays knew that. Vorkal had discipline, intuition, and a body engineered for resilience. But something inside the alien was cracking, and Rays had learned to feel those fractures like tremors beneath his feet. No assassin operated perfectly once the roles of predator and prey reversed, especially not when they were alone. Rays moved with deliberate slowness now, not out of caution, but out of precision. The final kill wasn't about speed. It was about message. Each step brought him closer to the culmination of a game Vorkal had thought he controlled. Now, the jungle was Ray's theater, and every raindrop was applause. He crouched beneath a hanging root web and paused. Ahead, through the veil of mist, a flicker of light shimmered. Irregular, flickering, not natural. Vorkal had deployed a beacon drone, likely low orbit, scanning for movement in the upper canopy. Smart, Rays murmured, adjusting his path. He'd scouted the terrain for days before the initial ambush. His memory of it was perfect. Every outcropping, every hollow tree, every natural sound channel. If Vorkul had data, Reyes had intimacy. That made all the difference. Another flicker, then static in his calm, a different voice this time. You're human, but not like the others. It was Vorkul. You're something else. Reyes didn't respond. He adjusted the bolt on his rifle, feeling the smooth motion of a weapon that had never failed him. The rain slicked the stock, but his grip never wavered. He tilted his head, listening. I studied your kind, Vorkul continued, voice steady now, almost curious. The species is erratic, wild, but you're precise. Cold, you fight like one of us. Reyes smiled faintly. You're wrong, he finally replied, keeping his tone even. You don't understand what we are. Not really. I understand you kill well. No, Reyes said, beginning to move again. We survive well. Killing is just part of that. A pause. I underestimated you. I counted on that. Silence returned, broken only by the rhythmic patter of rain and the low growl of distant thunder. Reyes shifted his route again, closing the arc. Vorkul's voice was coming from a fixed location. That meant he was holding his ground, maybe fortifying, maybe waiting. Good. That made him predictable. Reyes slipped through a thicket of needle brush, his skin brushing past stingers without reaction. Pain meant nothing in this kind of moment. It was just information. He ascended a narrow ridge and paused near the top, flattening against a blackstone shelf. Below, hidden in a natural alcove, was the source of the shimmer. Vorkul knelt near a glowing projection console, rain sliding over his armor, one hand resting on the hilt of a plasma axe. His visor was deactivated, resting against a nearby rock, a sign of intent. He wanted to see death with his own eyes. Or perhaps he hoped for dialogue. You know I won't run, Vorkul said, not looking up. You could kill me from there, but you haven't. I'm thinking, Reyes answered. Vorkul chuckled, a strange metallic sound. About what? Whether I want you to see it coming. Vorkul turned, slowly, meeting the gaze of the dark figure above him. He saw the mud-streaked face, the cold eyes, the rifle balanced with reverence. And for the first time since landing on this world, he showed something close to respect. You really are the last one, aren't you? Reyes nodded once. I didn't think one human could do all this, Vorkul admitted. I thought your kind were chaotic. Weak. That's the difference, Reyes said, taking a slow step down the ridge. You think strength is in numbers. We learn strength in loss. Vorkul stood, slowly, not as a threat, but as an equal. He let the plasma axe fall to the ground, powered off. His posture changed. Less a warrior ready to strike, more a soldier ready to understand. This war between our kinds, he said, voice low, it won't end here. It never does. Then why keep fighting? Reyes didn't answer immediately. He stepped into the clearing, just 10 meters away now, rifle still held steady, but not raised. His voice, when it came, was calm. Because one day, someone like you is going to come after someone like me and not stop, no matter the cost. And if we ever forget how to fight, that we stop being human. Vorkul exhaled, slowly. So this is it, then? Reyes nodded. He didn't raise his weapon. He didn't have to. A shadow detached itself from the tree line behind Vorkul, silent as breath. A secondary presence. One last contingency. A decoy drone Reyes had programmed days ago, mimicking his own heat pattern. Creeping slowly through the foliage, Vorkul turned too late. A flash. Non-lethal. Sonic. The assassin collapsed, disoriented, conscious but neutralized. Reyes strode forward and pressed a thin metal spike against Vorkul's temple. Sleep. A jolt of electricity. Vorkul's limbs twitched once. Then he went still. Reyes stared at him for a moment. Killing you would be easy, he whispered, but that wouldn't teach them anything. He looked up toward the sky, where the beacon drone still blinked like a single angry eye. He activated his own emergency transponder, deep frequency, only human channels. A pickup would come. Eventually, the rain was slowing. The forest began to hum again. But Reyes didn't relax. He crouched beside the unconscious assassin, eyes on the jungle, senses tuned. The mission wasn't over yet, and he didn't believe in peace. The extraction ship arrived without ceremony, a low thrum through the clouds that sent birds scattering from the treetops and disturbed the shallow mist clinging to the forest floor. Reyes stood in the clearing, motionless, rifle slung across his back, one hand resting lightly on the shoulder of his unconscious prisoner. The jungle around him had gone quiet again, not in fear, but in acknowledgement. The apex predator had done its work. The ramp of the ship hissed open, casting pale light onto the blackened mud. Two figures emerged, humans in dark exo-armor, faces hidden behind reflective visors, weapons ready but not raised. They paused when they saw him. The taller of the two lowered his rifle. Sergeant Reyes. Reyes gave a small nod. You took your time. Fleet Command had to be sure it wasn't a trap. You're not exactly in the habit of transmitting from enemy frequencies. It worked. The second figure approached, scanning the area with a compact sensor array. He paused over Vorkel's body, then looked at Reyes with something close to disbelief. You took one alive? He's their leader. Knows their tactics, deployments, kill structures. He's more valuable breathing. The first soldier tilted his head slightly. Fleet will want to interrogate him. Do what you have to, Reyes replied, already turning toward the ramp. Just make sure they listen. They didn't stop him as he stepped aboard. He didn't look back. Inside the ship, the lighting was sterile, the air dry and recycled. It felt wrong. Reyes took a seat on the fold-down bench, resting his elbows on his knees. For the first time in what felt like weeks, he let the rifle lean against the wall. His fingers twitched once, resisting the urge to reach for it again. The habit of holding a weapon was harder to shake than most emotions. The hum of the engines rose, lifting them above the jungle canopy. Through the side viewport, Reyes watched Drexus, 9 shrink away, a planet that had nearly claimed him and where he had buried too many names. He didn't feel victory. He felt hollow. A low chime sounded. The ship's AI voice followed, calm and distant. Command link established. Secure channel opened. Sergeant Reyes. Came a familiar voice through the console. Admiral Thorne. Measured. Always clinical. Admiral. We received your report. Confirmed 3 assassin kills, 1 live capture. We're transmitting commendation protocols now. Don't bother. A pause. Then more quietly. You disobeyed direct recall orders. What made you stay? I wanted them to see what we look like when we're underestimated. You made your point. No, Reyes said, eyes narrowing. I made our point. Another silence. Thorne had been his handler through dozens of ops. She knew his tone, knew when it meant something deeper. You believe this war's changing. Reyes nodded, though she couldn't see it. They're adapting. Fast. The Galactic Coalition didn't send these assassins on a whim. They wanted to test us. Not just militarily, but psychologically. See how we respond to fear. And you think you passed that test? I am that test, he said, almost whispering. The Admiral exhaled audibly. We'll debrief you when you reach orbit. Medical's waiting. So is fleet intelligence. Make it quick. Understood. The channel cut. Reyes leaned back against the bulkhead. The vibration of the engines was steady now. Comforting, even. He closed his eyes briefly, not to sleep, but to think. The war had never been about planets or politics. Not really. It had always been about perception. Humanity wasn't the strongest species in the galaxy. They weren't the most technologically advanced or the most numerous, but they had a talent for surviving things they shouldn't, for breaking odds that made no mathematical sense, and that made them dangerous. Reyes opened his eyes. Vorkel lay restrained on a stasis field across the room, still unconscious, chest rising and falling in slow, artificial rhythm. He looked smaller now, not weak, just less alien, stripped of armor and silence. He was just another soldier who believed the myths about humans, and found out too late that some of them were true. Reyes stood and walked over to him. He stared for a long time. Then he spoke, soft but clear. You'll wake up in a room full of analysts and cold lights. They'll ask you questions. They'll dig into your memories. But remember this, you survived not because you were skilled, though you were, but because I let you. And one day, when they send more of you, smarter, faster, harder to kill, I'll still be here, waiting, teaching them the same lesson. He turned and walked back to his bench, sitting down just as the ship banked westward toward the orbiting fleet. Drexes. 9 disappeared behind them, swallowed by mist and distance. And still, somewhere deep inside Ray's, the hunt hadn't ended. It never really did.